Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Everything Spice. My name is Tanya, and today I am working out of a recipe book again. What I'm making today, I have some extra apples. So I've decided to do an apple gallant. Very Francais, very French, very fabulous. It's basically a free-form apple pie. So I got this recipe, fabulous recipe, from this book, Pie. See? Pie by Ken Haedrich. If I butcher the name, I'm sorry, Ken. And I have this single crust, because it's only a single crust because it is a free-form pie. It's not double. We'll do that another time. But he has such a great book, pie book. It's so fabulous, so wonderful. Keep it there so that you can see it in the background. And what it calls for is a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of sugar, and I'm doing a little bit more, like close to 2 cups of flour, white flour. Put that in here. 1/4 of a cup of cold water, 1/4 of a cup of shortening, and a stick of butter. Okay, this is what's gonna form our pie. And I have now you can do this by hand. I'm using my food processor, but you don't have to use your food processor. But I tend to use my food processor quite a bit for this because it's easier, but I have formed this by hand too. So if you don't have a food processor, look at my big whisk. Can you really use this? Yeah, it's a big whisk. I'm whisking everything in so that it's all incorporated. All right, so what we're gonna do, and you wanna work with cold ingredients, cold shortening, cold butter, cold water, move fast. Move fast, let's do this. And then you're gonna pulse this a few times just to combine the salt, the sugar, and the flour together. So pulse. That's what makes it so simple. It's so lovely. All right, seal, my friends. All right, so we're gonna put in the butter first. The butter takes a little bit longer. And what we're gonna do with the butter has to be cold. Even if you can put it in the freezer, that'd be great for a few minutes, right? Then what we're gonna do is pulse this as well and form like crumbs, like a crumb almost, okay? You'll see. Not too much pulsing. You want to heat up the flour. And if you want that crumb look to it, let me see how we're doing here. We're making a mess. But if you're not making a mess, you're not doing it right. All right, so right here, if you can see this, see? You can still, wait a minute, maybe you can't see. Hang on, let me show you. See, it's got still formed butter, right? Little pieces of butter in there, and the flour, it's incorporated. I like that. So we're gonna stay with that. And then I'm gonna put in my shortening, because I can. And it is a little difficult with shortening to get it out sometimes. But we will use our clean kitchen fingers, our best utensils. What did I say? As long as it's clean, I'll wash them up. And then we're gonna pulse this up a few times, and then we'll add our water. So it's like a science, as I mentioned before. Baking is a science. Click, pulse. Okay, now I'm gonna take off the top of this. If I can push it up higher a little bit, I'm gonna take off the top of it, okay? And I'm gonna drizzle in some water as I slowly pulse until it forms a dough. Now, depending on the humidity where you are, you might need more water, you might need less water. Let's try it. You want it to absorb, and you don't want a very dry dough. So what you do is you take it out. Let me do this, you can't see. See this? You want it to form. Let me show you, get closer here. Just in case it falls all over the place. You want it to form, right, into a ball. And if it does that, it's perfect. And this is perfecto. So what we're gonna do is clean up our mess. Second here while I get everything out of my way. And I'm gonna use the board. My board, that's what I call it, my board. And I'm gonna put it on here, dump it on here. Dump it gently. It's not a terrible. And form my crust. And if you get anything like that, just take it out. You don't gotta worry about it. Take it out, use your hands. You're gonna be using your hands anyway, so don't worry about it. The only thing, come on, get out. And if you need a little bit more flour, do this and put a little bit more flour, but I think I'm fine. Okay, here we go. Now what we do is we're gonna squish it. Squish it into a ball, okay? If you need any more flour, if it doesn't come together, don't put flour, because that means it needs more liquid. If it comes together too much, it's too wet, then it needs more flour, but little flour, because all the flour that you add is making it a dry product, just so you know. So we're just gonna move it around, knead it just a bit. It's not like bread, so you don't wanna knead it too much. Just enough to form a crust or ball. So move it around and then grab all of these, gathering. Look how perfect this is. Successful. It's a really good recipe. I like it, Ken. Thank you, Ken, for your recipe. Your pie book is awesome. Highly recommend it. And I'm not getting endorsed. Ken is not paying me to say that. You don't even know I live and exist, my friends. All right, so let's move it around. Just like this. Can you see how we're doing this here? Let me see. I'm going to push it over here a little bit more so you can see. Now we're going to form it into what they call a disc. In a good shape, good size thickness, good size shape of it. See? Pat it with your hands. Patty cake makers, man. Slap that bottom as fast as you can. All right? And then we take some plastic wrap. And you know how fun plastic wrap is, right? Probably not. It's not fun. And if you mess it up, it's just not good. All right, so what we're gonna do, take it. Ready. Ta-da! This is years of practice, my friends. Don't think you can't do it just because I'm doing it like this. I'm making it look good for the camera. I spent years doing crusts and breads, and trust me, it takes a long time to learn it. Not long, forever and ever, amen, but you know what? You just gotta practice. Practice makes perfecto. And then rip at this plastic wrap because I don't have the whole shebang here. So, okay, we're gonna cover this up and we have to chill it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. It has to shape, it's too wet, not wet, but it's too loose, and it's gonna harden up in the refrigerator, and then when I come back, we can roll it out, and then we're gonna put our apples. I'm gonna show you how to form this. So stay tuned. This is apple galette on Everything Spice. All right, welcome back. So we have our dough, and I left it out for about a half hour just to soften just a bit from the refrigerator. If it's too cold, then you can't roll it out. If it's too hard, it won't roll out. If it's too soft, it won't roll out. So you have to have that happy medium. So what I have here is the apples. I've cored them. I've sliced them. Okay, and I put it in with a little bit of flour because there's gonna be a lot of juice and you don't want too much juice runneth over. And cinnamon, nutmeg, sugar. Cinnamon, I put like a tablespoon or two. Nutmeg, grated some in. Your taste, preference. You can put apple pie spice instead if it makes it easier for you. The sugar, about a half a cup to a cup of sugar. You want to have the natural sweetness of the apples, but you also like that sweetness too. I like that sweetness too. Okay, and like I said, a little sprinkling of flour so that the juices don't runneth over. Here is the crust, and it's a beauty. This is my pie dough, and let me start. So what I'm gonna do is take some flour, lightly, to the board, lightly, my French pin, as they call it, French pin. Now this is how I do it. Just go like this a little bit. Makes it easier to roll. At least for me, it makes it easier to roll. Now, if it breaks apart a little bit, guess what? You just put it back together. Move it a little bit and do the same thing. Try not to go too much to the edges of this because you want the edges to be a little bit more thicker than the rest. Might need a little bit more dough. I mean, might need a little bit more flour on the bottom. Okay, we're gonna roll it out and push this together. Just keep moving it. It'll eventually work out for you. So we're gonna make it into like a big pie, not too big. You wanna maintain the thickness because this is not a double crusted pie. This is the galette. And it is breaking apart, probably not exactly too soft. You know, the humidity here is very high. So basically when the humidity is high, then that can happen where unfortunately it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Where it falls apart a little bit and it gets a little gloopy. But that's okay if it gets gloopy, okay? Because we will work it out in the end. All right, so what I'm doing here is rolling it out, rolling it out, rolling it out. And then I'm going to take it, because I have all these apples, so you have to roll it out enough that they're gonna cover and fold over. Now, if you have excess apples, that's one thing, whatevs, but if you can get all the apples in, that's ideal. Now, it is a thicker one. What I'm gonna do is play around with it, trying to get it to stay on my pin. And sometimes it's gonna break a little bit. That's fine. Like I said, it's a crumblier dough, but that just means that when it's crumbly, guess what? It is gonna be a nice, flaky, bumpy dough. So it looks a little bit whatevs, but in the end, it's gonna be fabulous. So we're gonna put it on here, roll it out. And if it comes apart, don't even worry about it, because we're gonna play puzzle with this and we're gonna move it around, okay? So don't even get excited about it. Sometimes these things happen with it. Humidity can be pretty high on it. So you need to just go with it. Go with the flow. It will work out in the end. And it is a homemade pie, right? So don't worry about it. It doesn't look perfect. It has that, what is it called? Rustic look. And everybody loves the rustic look. Now we're gonna keep this in the middle. Pile it high. Use your hands, as long as they're clean. Your best tool in the kitchen, my friends. Okay, now look, we're gonna pile it in the middle. I like a lot of apples, but some people, they don't. But since it's my show, I can pile it high if I want to, okay? I'm the one that has to deal with it afterwards if it doesn't work out. Okay, I'm gonna fold it in and play puzzle piece with this. If it, like I said, rustic, it is rustic. Don't even worry about it if it doesn't look 100% fantastic. It's going to work out in the end in the oven. The oven's gonna do all the work for you. And then you're gonna have this nice, beautiful pie. Okay, so we're gonna fold it over, just like that, just like that, just like this. Just keep pulling around. See what I'm saying, what I'm doing? Folding it up to the edges to make this free-formed pie, okay? And by folding it over, just like that, it looks so good, right? Crimp the edges a little bit. If there's any extra edges that come off, we just fill it in like that. And it looks so pretty. Presentation-wise, it's really, really nice, okay? So, I'm gonna do this, and then what we do with this beauty, look how pretty that is. We're gonna put some butter in the middle on the top. Okay, this is gonna probably leak a little bit, that's fine. It's a normal thing. The crust is free-formed and it's crumbly. See, can I see? All right, perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is you can do either an egg wash or you can do, let's see if I have any eggs. I might have one. I'm gonna do an egg wash on top. Put some sugar on top of that and some butter on top of that. So, layers upon layers upon layers of fabulous flavors. Yes, thank you. All right, one egg goes on into, and I use the whole egg. Sometimes people just use the egg whites, or they use the egg, what's it called? Egg yolks, water. yolk. That's it. It's as simple as that. The French can be very complicated in their food, and then they can be very simple, like something like this. So, let's go simple, because that's what we like. We like it simple. All right, so what we're gonna do, take my brush. I'm gonna get a little zhuzh going on with this egg wash, which is just an egg and water. And scramble, 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 scramble. No, we're not making scrambled eggs. That'll be it. You've done breakfast before. All you gotta do is look on my page to find that. All right, here. I'm gonna just coat just the crust. We don't wanna do the eggs. Let's not paint the eggs. We're just painting, like we're painting, right? We can do that. Paint the outside. Because guess what happens? The crust forms and it has a nice golden color to it. And it looks pretty and shiny. And that is what we want. Perfection. All right, just do that. Hold on. And then the last thing I do, besides get all this out of the way, I'm gonna put some butter, but I am going to shine my beautifulness like this. The crust on the outside, secret to my success, the magique that goes in, is a little bit of sugar, or a lot of sugar. It's totally up to you what you want. Don't put too much sugar because it might absorb into the crust. You don't want that. And then the last thing I do is add a little bit of butter on the top, because why not? Butter, butter, butter makes it better, better, better. Now cube it up. Just put a couple little cubes here and there and everywhere, and it's going to filter into the apples and make it really pretty and like really shiny and really rich and buttery. And that's what we want. We want rich. We want buttery. We want fabulousness. Okay, this goes into a 350-degree oven. I would say check it in a half hour, turn the pan so that you have even browning. If it starts browning too much on the crust, then put an aluminum foil tent over it, okay? Just place some aluminum foil lightly onto the pie, the whole pie. You're not like, crimping it or anything, just put it over it so it covers it, and then let it cook, because sometimes the apples take longer than the crust, so we need to do that aluminum tent, okay? I'm gonna put it in the oven, and then I'm gonna bring it out for the ta-da! It is fabulous. It is delicious apple galante. Join me for the finale of this beautiful recipe, this beautiful French recipe, in a moment. Ta-da! Now that's an apple galante. I put some powdered sugar on top. It's crispy, it's beautiful. Presentation-wise, this would be totally entertainable. I hope you enjoyed this episode of French apple galante. Please like, subscribe, and join me next time for Everything Spice. Be safe, everyone.